It is stated that the Creator has given all humans unalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It is with these rights that we as Americans are fortunate enough to possess within our lives. I, for one, wish to bathe in the rights we have been afforded, and I have the utmost intentions to listen to this decree. For it is but the job of a fool to deny themselves of the glory that we have been provided by the Creator. It is their job to be blind to the beauty that we bear witness to every day, but for only a fleeting moment. We have been granted the impossibly rare opportunity to awaken with another, to smell the roses, to see the tall hills that scatter our landscapes, to indulge in the sum of artistry that we consume each and every day. Yet, this is not a world of happiness. It is not a world of whimsy. It is a world of pain, loss, and limitations. Man has been bestowed the gift of fire, the gift of mortality to witness with our own eyes the beauty that God has created for only but the length of an ember, spit by a burning fire. I do not intend for my life to be all but a crumb. It is my intention, no, my duty to ensure that man constructs immortality. It is my duty to defy God.
How would you feel if I told you that at a point in history, the human race actually achieved immortality for an ever-brief but horrifying moment with Roblox? This is a story that I assure you, you have not heard before, and this will be the first ever look into a project that has remained classified and under extreme protection, until today. So sit back, relax, grab a cup of hot cocoa and maybe even some snacks, as we take a look into the highly classified Roblox Heaven Ascendency Protocol.
Dispatch, be advised. Cam is on. You getting my feed? Alright, let's get in and get out. I don't want to be here longer than we have to be.
Hey, me neither, Captain.
Not me.
This place is a mess.
Not surprising. It's been abandoned for years.
And they did experiments here.
Affirmative. Biological experimentation and life extension trials. CIA scoured most of the facility, but never this part due to biological hazards.
And we're the ones walking in.
Someone's gotta do it.
This place gives me the creeps.
What's going on with the central channel? 196 Bleecker Street is apparently secure from level 2 enemy zone.
Boss, look, on your right.
Damn it.
The hell is that?
That's what remains. Jacob Carson.
In order to explain what the Roblox Heaven Ascendency Protocol, or RHAP for short, actually is, it's first important to understand the events that led to its creation and its discovery. On November 18th, 2023, Reddit user KeenTaBreads posted a mega link on the r/soda subreddit. One of my friends, CrinkleCrunch, was fortunately an avid member of this subreddit and downloaded the nearly 1 GB zip file containing thousands and thousands of documents, photos, and videos of experiments and information regarding RHAP. it would be removed only 1 hour and 17 minutes after its original posting, and the user's account was mysteriously deleted. Over the last 2 months, I have combed through the information included within the documents, many of which are, unfortunately, redacted. Despite this, I have been able to garner plenty of information about what RHAP actually is, which we refer to as the Carson files, and I'm going to share it with you all. So, let's begin with the man who started it all. In 1976, Jacob Carson of Missoula, Montana graduated from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Born shortly after the end of World War II in 1951 to parents Greg Carson and Shelley Steeler, Jacob had a childhood much like every other child in America at the time, with one exception. Jacob was generally a happy and joyous child, but would come to struggle with the idea of mortality. Starting at the age of 6, there were countless nights where Jacob would struggle to sleep, and would cry for hours at the horrifying idea that there could be a reality where his family, friends, and himself would be gone forever. It ate away at him so much that he developed severe depression in his teenage years, which would fortunately subside as he approached his 18th birthday. Because of his terrible obsession with the idea of mortality, Jacob became intrigued by the null hypothesis, immortality. A former partner of Jacob was quoted in a confidential interview of the CIA, saying that he always believed there was a chance, a way to make it so that his life would never end. He never stopped talking about it. His high school science projects reflected this sentiment. They were often involved with theoretical ideas, and in rare cases, horrifying experiments with mice to experiment with life longevity, including blood transfusions and the surgical replacement of their organs with new ones from younger brethren. As a student at MIT, he spent 7 years of his life studying for his PhD in biological engineering. It was an intentional choice. He didn't desire to go to any other university or enroll in any other program. It was MIT and its biological engineering program that he fought tooth and nail to get into. Upon the completion of his PhD, his doctorate was achieved with a dissertation titled Biological Applications of Cancerous Cell Growth for Extended Cell Life. It was what one professor, Dr. McChase, described as unimaginably preposterous, if not insane. Mad science is the product of Mary Shelley. It should not be a graduate from our university. Carson nonetheless graduated with his PhD at the age of 25. And would end up working at the Massachusetts General Hospital for the next few years of his life. The idea of immortality a less present thought on his mind more than helping the sick was. Unfortunately for Carson, he received a grim reminder of what was his lifelong goal at the age of 32, when his father, Greg Carson, died of a heart attack at the age of 73. This devastated Carson. Even at the age of 32, he had never truly lost anyone in his life. Sure, he had sour relationships and falling outs with friends, but he never had anyone close to him die, to be gone forever. It would then only be 1 year later, in 1984, when Carson would found Carson Biotechnology, a company dedicated to the express purpose of medical research and drug manufacturing. This was, however, only the public-facing persona of the company. While it would at first be a remarkably small company, its growth would skyrocket until 1998, when Carson Biotechnology became a Fortune 500 company, joining many in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Now at the age of 47, Carson was doing far better than he ever expected, but just as well as he had planned. Carson was not just an overachiever in the sense that he would get A's in all of his papers. He was instead a person who would refuse to stop until his goal was reached, no matter the cost. Easier said than done, but remarkably, Carson was able to grant himself an enormous amount of capital through his biotechnology company. Not only was it just a successful business, but he also received an enormous amount of incentives and subsidies from a state-sponsored biotechnology sector. Carson had not forgotten his goals, however. During the late 80s and early 90s, he had covertly recruited researchers from top pharmaceutical companies and universities from around the world to assist him in his now highly secretive research to extend the human lifespan. Secretly, very few of the people working for him actually believed it was possible for a human to have an infinite lifespan, but some did. Of course, whether they did or didn't believe in his dream, they all started to face reality sooner or later with the realization that even extending the human lifespan, even minimally, would be nearly impossible. Experiment after experiment would fail time and time again, eventually even leading Carson himself to have a lack of confidence in his own project. That is, until Andrei Pashenko joined the company in 2003. Andriy Pashenko was a Ukrainian scientist who had worked for a small pharmaceutical company in, ironically, Russia for the better part of 3 decades. Much like Carson, he also had similar ambitions for living an indefinite life. One of Carson's employees had a mutual friendship with Pashenko, which eventually led to his quote-unquote application arriving at Carson's desk.
Can you explain to me what the process of recruitment was for Project Terra?
It was, not easy. The few who worked for Jacob were not chosen lightly. The process was rigorous. It was tense. I had a friend at Davinci Pharmaceuticals who happened to be a former member of his team. He knew I worked in life extension drug trials, and Jacob told me that it was months of back and forth speaking to determine my entry into his sciences.
Mr. Pashenko, this recruitment process seems quite rigorous, lengthy. You and Mr. Carson were so dedicated to this level of secrecy to keep your project safe. Why? Were you worried that the government would shut you down? Wouldn't you think that maybe the public would actually support such a project?
It's less what the general public would want to do to help, and more what the general public would do to get it for everyone. That would be unacceptable. The weak don't deserve entry into an eternal life. Only the strong and smart do.
Now is an excellent time to mention precisely what Carson was literally trying to do. Codenamed Project Hera, it and all of its employees were officially employed and on the payroll of Carson Biotechnology. But the reality of their employment would be working at a secret laboratory in Somerset, Vermont. While Carson's dissertation was suitable enough to graduate from MIT, it was read by few outside of the institution, with the majority who had read it, such as Dr. McChase, describing it as genuinely insane and beyond ethical to continue researching. Think for a moment about that. Do you think that the MIT professors actually had a good point? How would you theoretically test to see if cancerous cell growth could be used to continue the human lifespan? The keyword was right there. Humans. In Carson's dissertation, mice were used for his experiments much like they were in his high school projects. While technically within ethical boundaries at the time, there was certainly a moral argument as to whether or not it was considered cruel to not just the mice, but to the laws of nature itself. His dissertation had largely unsuccessful results. But he was successful with one mouse, Maggie. Maggie was a mouse who lived to the extreme age of 22 years old, dying in 1996 and being born in 1974. The MIT professors who didn't consider the ethical considerations of this experiment were fascinated, and the few that vouched for Carson's experiments are the reason he was able to graduate. Except, mice aren't comparable to humans. Sure, they give us a general idea of how the effects of an ailment or medication may work, but to someone like Carson who was obsessed with prolonging the human lifespan, this wasn't acceptable. There is a reason Carson had a secret team working under him at Carson Biotechnology. It wasn't because of the ethics of the idea of immortality. It was the ethics of illegal human testing. Throughout the Boston metropolitan area from 1988 to 2018, there was a string of unexplained disappearances, with the one uniting factor being that all of the missing persons had signed up for experimental medical trials at various medical companies across the region. It puzzled state authorities, not only because of the disappearances around Boston, but also because of similar disappearances in the Albany metropolitan area, about 200 miles west. The true nature of the disappearances would only be found out through the Carson files, which revealed an enormous series of logs detailing the health and identity of dozens of people, all of which were used for experiments run by Carson's secret laboratory.
Dr. Varun, you were one of Carson's earliest employees, or rather one of Carson's earliest secret employees. We know you signed on in 1988. When did human testing begin for Carson's trials?
Immediately.
Did you see any problem with it at the time?
Not at all. Jacob Carson was the only person I've ever met who actually understood the value of a human life.
So, by recognizing the value of a human life, he ended up kidnapping and killing upwards of nearly 100 people? That seems hypocritical to me.
They were a necessary sacrifice to reach our goals. They were never going to amount to anything anyways.
So, you believed in Carson's ideas, yes?
Louis Armstrong, a saxophone player, he wrote the song What a Wonderful World. Within the lyrics of said song, there is a lyric that states, I hear babies cry, I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. Like Jacob, I grew up with the understanding that this world is temporary, and I do not desire to live in a world with limits.
Louis Armstrong played the trumpet.
Shut up.
Journals collected from Carson's Somerset facility revealed that around 43 subjects were experimented on with radiation and specialized genetically modified cells to develop Carson's dissertation on using cancerous cell growth as a catalyst for at least extending the human lifespan. According to the journals, this would usually result in expected results, namely death. Some, however, had very unexpected results, such as horrifying mutations like something out of a movie.
Alright. We're going to activate the cells now.
Signs are normal. Wait, something's wrong.
What do you mean, something?
Were they coming from the west?
Affirmative.
Alright, get teams 2 and 7 here.
This incident occurred in 1998, resulting in the death of 48 personnel, 32 of them scientists. This in part would lead to a massive drop in motivation among Carson's team, and cause a large reduction in confidence in his project to begin with, which was of course alleviated with Pashenko joining the team. If they couldn't extend the human lifespan through traditional means available during the time, they instead decided to try their hand at brain mapping to upload the human conscious onto a computer. Existing projections have pointed to the possibility of the top supercomputers in the world being able to simulate a human conscious sometime past the year 2100. But this is solely an estimate, with no plausible way to determine how much power would actually be needed to simulate the human conscience. In fact, it's believed that the power required would amount to something almost unimaginably complex. Henry Markram of the Blue Brain Project stated that you would literally need computers that are trillions of times bigger and faster than anything existing today, in 2004, the same time Carson and Pashenko began running their trials. They understood the obstacles that laid ahead, so they devised an alternate strategy. What if the human mind could be, quote, dumbed down to that of something such as a video game AI? Replicating every single neurological process would be extremely difficult. But if the mind upload was developed for specific application of certain parameters, then perhaps it would be easier. Enter Roblox. Released in 2006, Roblox saw a dramatic period of growth between then and the early 2010s and onwards. A platform with increasing relevance, it saw consistent attention from the media and gamers alike due to its innovative game building and hosting mechanics. As the years passed, Pashenko and Carson consistently sought to choose a platform to act as a, quote, host for our conscience. By 2016, Roblox had grown dramatically with millions of experiences on the platform, and the choice was solidified. Before we move on, it's important to understand how the Roblox Heaven Ascendency protocol even came to fruition in the public eye. Throughout the 21st century, there have been whispers of secret experiments by Carson Biotechnology to extend the human lifespan indefinitely. One of the most notable clues was a tweet posted on April 7, 2020. Twitter user Arctosettle posted a tweet about the Roblox Heaven Ascendency protocol, and simply stated, "I found this game on Roblox called Roblox Heaven Ascendency Protocol. If you've ever wanted a classic obby that reminds you of the golden days of Roblox, this is the game for you." This was a strange situation, as this was and still is Arctosettle's only tweet. Furthermore, the account has 0 followers, and only follows one person, and that person is Cardi B. That's actually not relevant, it's just kind of funny. On September 17th, 2018, the Roblox Heaven Ascendency protocol was ready to be initiated. Carson and Pashenko, with an ailing number of scientists, had finalized what they believed would be the solution to the problem they had been trying to solve for nearly 3 decades. Carson couldn't be happier. In 2018, he was already 67 years old. Both him and Pashenko were eager to finally subject themselves to the protocol, with contingencies in place to further develop their research following the protocol to truly make eternal life possible. Similar to the cancer trials, they had numerous failures, including a second notable incident which resulted in the near destruction of all of their research.
Maybe this time things won't go wrong.
Let's hope so. Starting a test.
Despite all of the setbacks over the years, Carson's team had figured out how to collectively upload a human mind to a digital plane, which was the whole purpose of RHAP. They would upload the patient's human conscience onto a digital avatar in Roblox, affording them the ability to essentially live forever in this game with a near infinite amount of experiences, almost akin to heaven, hence the naming Roblox Heaven Ascendency Protocol. For the purposes of their experiment, they had created a game titled Roblox Heaven Ascendency Protocol, just like Octo said in their tweet. This game acted as a quote-unquote staging ground for the creation and home base for the player created from the human mind. The intention would then be to allow the person to be able to navigate among any game they chose in Roblox. But this wasn't the way it actually worked. In the later years of Carson's experiment, Andriy Pashenko had begun to lose confidence in the project. And not only did he lose confidence, he began to grow disdain for it. He, much like Carson, thought it was possible. He thought they could achieve it. Yet, reality hit him soon enough, and he began to sabotage the project. The quote-unquote successful tests with their kidnapped patients were in reality complete failures. They did actually upload their conscience to Roblox, but it was solely limited to that game with almost no control of their actions. Instead of heaven, Carson and Pashenko had actually made hell. The science behind the project used widespread fragmentation of the data that made up their mind's being, which was to ensure that if a portion of the internet ever went down, their presence would permanently exist regardless, essentially making their existence permanent until the death of the complete internet. This is actually why it was called the Roblox Heaven Ascendency Protocol. It was simply a highly advanced secretive internet protocol to ensure the data's existence on Roblox following the procedure. While this ensured their existence, it also ensured they could never be fully deleted. This is what made Pashenko sick. He saw that the people they had tested on hadn't died or been numbed. They were fully present, and fully unable to control themselves, stuck in an eternal hell that neither they or Pashenko could stop. Even after he realized this, he tried to convince Carson that the project was futile even if they had seen apparent success. But Carson wouldn't listen, and they continued subjecting real human beings to this experiment, forever cementing them in an unstoppable hell. Pashenko was done, and he decided that it was time for Carson to taste his own medicine, so he prepared to sabotage Carson's usage of the RHAP.
As you are well aware, this may hurt, so bear with me.
It will only be a minor inconvenience for a permanent solution.
Jacob Carson would die on September 17th, 2018 at the age of 67. His official cause of death would be ruled a seizure, but those involved with his project knew the true reality. The RHAP game used to be public on Roblox, but it has since been removed. There is a piece of footage which exists of the game that was included in the Carson files, which shows gameplay of the game, dated September 18th, 2018, a day after Carson was uploaded with the protocol. What it shows is a fairly simple obby in Roblox, but it has an air of beauty to it. It doesn't appear to be very long, and the obstacles seem to be very elementary. Besides the weirdly pleasant pinkish colors and pretty sky, the main thing to note is the random Roblox players who reside in the game. These are not NPCs. These are real people, and they can never leave. Some of them jump up and down, and some of them walk in circles aimlessly. Some just stand there. One in particular, with the name Carson J51, stands staring off into the distance at the end of the obby. This made me very curious as to whether or not if this was Carson's avatar, if this is what remains of Jacob Carson. So I wrote some emails to some people I knew, and fortunately enough, I was actually able to get access to the obby. Now, the interesting thing about Roblox is that if no players are playing a game, then no servers will exist for that game. It's a very smart way of hosting games on a platform that offers free publication for multiplayer games without any fees. And despite the game being private, it did in fact have an active server, somehow, which I was able to access with a special admin account I was given credentials for. Some of the people have moved, some have started doing different things since the recording, but ultimately Jacob Carson has not moved. He still stands on the edge, looking out towards what for us is just a skybox, but for him, a glimpse into the world he once knew. The CIA was the organization who compiled all of the information in the Carson files to begin with. Contained within is not only the evidence gathered by them that I've presented today, but also a series of interviews with CIA personnel regarding the nature of the Roblox Heaven Ascendency protocol. And while they never seem to catch on to the fact that these are actually real people in the game and not just NPCs, Pashenko implied it multiple times throughout his interviews that, yes, they are real people. They have thoughts, they have feelings, but they're mangled and torn, permanently stuck inside of these avatars for eternity. It is simply a horrifying reality, and one that brings some level of solace with the fact that Carson Biotechnology officially shut its doors in 2020, with the public reason being bankruptcy. But the reality was that the US government found out what they were doing and developed the Coverup to charge those responsible for developing Project Hera and the Roblox Heaven Ascendency protocol. In the same year, Andrei Pashenko and 94 past and present employees of Carson Biotechnology would all be charged and found guilty of fraud, violation of medical ethics, criminal negligence, and manslaughter, with the true reasons for their prosecution muddled behind experimental drug trials that actually never happened. Many would make deals in exchange for freedom or reduced sentences, with most of the blame lying on Jacob Carson and Andrei Pashenko, the latter of which bearing all of the blame due to Carson's supposed death. Ultimately, the Roblox Heaven Ascendency protocol is something that seems completely unreal. It seems so impossible that actually knowing this all happened, and that there are dozens of people trapped in what is essentially an eternal hell, makes it an utterly disgusting thing. And in some cases, it makes you glad that Jacob Carson was subjected to his own experiment. He got what he wanted. He got his eternal life. But I no doubt believe that at this point, he regrets his decision, either from the eternal sorrow he'll experience, or from the guilt of all the people he hurt over the years.
This has been quite a story. I have to ask, why? Why would you expect me to believe any of what you've just told me?
Well, I suppose I shouldn't expect you to believe the story. A child would see it as a mere fairy tale. An adult would see it like Santa Claus. It is simply a dream. A ploy to create comfort and happiness.
Later today, I will be subjecting myself to the Roblox Heaven Ascendency protocol.
Mr. Carson didn't see it like that. He saw it as something we could achieve. The Vermont site has everything you will need to understand what we have done. As for Carson himself, we achieved his goal. He got what he wanted. I regret it. He was strong. He was smart. He got his eternal life. Though I see it more like eternal damnation than heaven. Forever trapped as bytes of data flowing through a children's game. I would rather indulge in the briefness and beauty of this world than be nothing but packets.
I wish to forever bear the beauty of this world in my eyes. And if this is what I need to do to accomplish my goal, then no one will stop me.
Think about it, my friend. You and I will one day die, and our lives will only continue through the memory of those who loved us. Mr. Carson didn't just want to make himself live forever. He wanted everyone he loved to live forever. It blinded him. It corrupted him.
My life is driven by the simple desire to maintain all that is dear to me. I don't care what the cost is, but living in a world without those that I love is a world that I cannot live in. There's a reason I chose Pashenko to run this project. Because he understands.
I shared this vision. I thought we could do it. When we finally did, I realized the madness and impossibility. It was the dream of a sick man who would do whatever possible to console himself of man's mortality. That's why I stopped the project after we enacted the protocol on him.
Today is the day where I get to see the beauty of this world forever. I will fly higher than humans ever have before. I will fly to a place where my story has no end.
Carson was a modern-day Icarus. He flew too close to the sun. Except he didn't fall. He'll be burned by its rays forever. His world is I wish to acknowledge it for what it is with the time I have here. And one day, my perception of everything will be gone. But I will not regret having been able to see the beauty in this dark, bright world. There cannot be light without the darkness, just the same as there cannot be life without death.